They say a perfect life is just a story we tell ourselves, until the truth tears through it like glass. Pregnant wife discovers millionaire husband's mistress, files for divorce, and raises child alone. Dark secrets and shattered dreams often hide beneath the glossy veneer of a perfect marriage. Samantha Ellis thought she had it all: a devoted husband named Ryan, a flourishing business empire in his name, and a baby on the way. But perfection has a price, and Samantha was about to pay it in heartbreak. Behind the closed doors of their lavish Beverly Hills estate, whispers of betrayal began to echo. She started noticing lipstick smudges on collars that weren't hers, mysterious charges on their shared credit cards from hotels she had never visited, and that lingering perfume, expensive, exotic, and unfamiliar. A clandestine mistress, hidden bank transactions, and suspicious late-night phone calls threatened everything Samantha once trusted. The truth unleashed a storm of lies and heartbreak that would change her life forever. This is the harrowing tale of one woman's fight for dignity after betrayal shook her world. Samantha Ellis stood by the tall, sweeping windows of her penthouse living room, admiring the glittering lights of Los Angeles below. Her husband, Ryan Ellis, had just left for an urgent meeting. Typical for a man who had built a multi-million-dollar entertainment empire from scratch. She often teased him that he loved business deals more than life itself. Yet she knew deep down that Ryan's relentless ambition was a large part of the attraction. Despite his grueling schedule, Samantha believed they shared a profound connection that set them apart from other couples. They'd once whispered dreams to each other under candlelight, vowed to weather every storm side by side. Their wedding had been the talk of the city, a fairy tale affair held on a private vineyard estate in Napa Valley. From an outsider's perspective, Samantha appeared to live the life of a modern-day princess. She could spend her days attending exclusive charity galas, picking out new furniture for their ever-expanding penthouse, or planning extravagant vacations. But beneath that polished surface, Samantha was no mere trophy wife. She had grown up in a middle-class family, watched her own parents struggle to make ends meet, and was determined not to lose herself in the luxurious lifestyle. Instead, she pursued a career in interior design. Her talent attracted high-end clients like Natalie Monroe, heiress to the Monroe hospitality fortune, and David Langston, a renowned Hollywood film producer. Through her work, Samantha felt she was building something meaningful, just as Ryan had done with his media company. On the night our story truly begins, Samantha was 6 months pregnant. She felt the subtle flutters of life inside her belly, a thrilling reminder that soon she would bring a child into the world, a child she had dreamed about for years. Married for just under 2 years, Samantha had endured the heartbreak of 2 miscarriages before. Each time, Ryan had held her, whispered that they'd try again, but something in his eyes always seemed distant, distracted. Each loss had sunk her into a spiral of grief that made her question if she could ever become a mother. Now the 3rd pregnancy was well underway, and everything appeared normal. Her doctors beamed with optimism. Ryan, too, was overjoyed. At least, that was how he presented himself in front of her. Shortly after Ryan left that evening, Samantha's phone buzzed. It was a text from her best friend, Isabel Cruz. "How's my godchild doing tonight?" Isabel teased. Samantha smiled, typing back a playful response. Isabel had been her rock, offering a shoulder to cry on during the miscarriages and the subsequent emotional roller coaster. Though Isabel was single and thrived on a vibrant social life, she never hesitated to show up at Samantha's side, whether in the hospital after medical complications or in the living room for late-night heart-to-hearts. Samantha was about to slip into her pajamas when her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message that made her pause. "Hello, Miss Ellis. I think you deserve the truth. Your husband is not who you think he is. If you want proof, come to the Rosemont Hotel Lounge tomorrow at 8 p.m. Her heart hammered in her chest. What kind of sick joke is this? She reread the message, checking the number. Unknown. Could it be a prank? Some people delighted in stirring drama for the wealthy, especially if they believed it could net them a quick buck. She considered ignoring it, but the timing, Ryan's late meetings and unexplained absences, made something deep inside her quiver with unease. Struggling to calm her rising anxiety, Samantha reasoned with herself. If Ryan really had some secret life, some mistress or scandal, she would know, wouldn't she? After all, they shared the same bed, the same goals, the same dream for their child. She rubbed her baby bump lightly. No, she couldn't let a cryptic text unravel her world. She decided to wait until morning to bring it up with Ryan, hoping it would turn out to be nothing more than a hoax. Yet, even as she tried to sleep that night, a faint tremor of fear snaked through her. She lay in bed, replaying the last few months in her mind. Her senses seemed sharpened with suspicion. The nights Ryan claimed he was stuck in endless boardroom discussions, the hushed phone calls he took at odd hours, that new cologne scent she couldn't place, lingering on his suit jacket. I'm probably overthinking, she assured herself, but the doubt wouldn't let her rest. By the time dawn broke, Samantha had barely slept, her mind alive with questions she couldn't answer. She felt the baby's gentle kick and whispered into the early light, "Whatever happens, we'll be okay." The following morning, Samantha awoke to find Ryan already dressed and standing by the kitchen counter, sipping his usual black coffee. He glanced at her with concern. "You look tired," he said softly. "Is everything all right?" Samantha hovered at the threshold of the kitchen, trying to gauge Ryan's mood. She noticed dark circles under his eyes too, as though he'd also wrestled with a sleepless night. For a moment, she entertained the hope that perhaps his anxiety mirrored her own, for some legitimate, innocent reason. But the unknown sender's message blinked in her memory, nagging at her conscience. She decided to proceed cautiously. "I got a strange text last night," she began, pouring herself a glass of freshly pressed orange juice. "It was anonymous, claiming that you're not who I think you are, and thus they wanted me to meet them at the Rosemont Hotel lounge tonight." Ryan's brow furrowed in exaggerated confusion. "That's bizarre. It's probably some scammer or blackmailer. You know how it is when people hear about money." He set his coffee cup down and crossed the room to her. He laid a hand gently on her stomach. "You and the baby are my world. I'd never do anything to jeopardize that. You know that, don't you?" Samantha peered into his eyes, searching for any flicker of dishonesty. His gaze held steady, exuding only what appeared to be genuine concern. She let herself exhale. "Yes, I do. Maybe I'm letting pregnancy hormones get the best of me." Ryan pulled her into a tender embrace. "Don't stress over it," he murmured. "Ignore those messages. If they keep coming, we'll involve the authorities." Samantha nodded, comforted by his reassurance, though a small seed of doubt remained. She made a mental note to check his phone bills, or see if there was anything else unusual. Then again, what if doing so turned out to be a major violation of trust? She hated the feeling that suspicion was corrupting her marriage. Had they truly reached the point where she would snoop through his personal records? Instead, she decided to speak with Isabel after lunch. Isabel worked as an event planner for some of LA's most elite social gatherings. She had a knack for digging up inside information. Discreetly, of course. If anyone could help Samantha figure out whether the text was real or a scam, it would be Isabel. That afternoon, Samantha arrived at Isabel's office in West Hollywood, brushing off the doorman's polite greeting. She found her friend perched behind a massive oak desk, littered with swatches of silk invitations and schedules. Isabel's eyes lit up when she saw Samantha, but her smile faded quickly at the worry etched on Samantha's face. "What's going on?" Isabel asked, motioning her to sit. "You look like you haven't slept in a week." Samantha explained everything. The anonymous text, her conversation with Ryan, her lingering doubts. Isabel listened intently, tapping a manicured fingernail on her desk as she formulated her thoughts. "Look," Isabel began cautiously, "it might be a prank, but I have my ear to the ground at a lot of social events. Let me check with a few of my contacts, see if there have been any rumors about Ryan. Sometimes people like to spread malicious gossip, especially if they're jealous or think they can exploit a story for cash." Her tone was light, but Samantha could see the tension behind her eyes. Isabel was worried. Samantha took a steadying breath. "That's all I ask," she said. "Just a bit of clarity before I lose my mind with speculation." Over the next few hours, Isabel made discreet phone calls, texting some of her closest colleagues and digging through various social media channels. She even cross-referenced photos from high society galas, verifying Ryan's presence and potential companions. At one point, she paused longer than usual on a photo before shaking her head. "No, that can't be," she murmured, then quickly moved on. Samantha noticed but didn't press. Not yet. Nothing raised a red flag, at least not yet. As evening approached, Samantha felt both relieved and frustrated. If there was no evidence of wrongdoing, maybe that meant the text was just a hoax. But the uncertainty clung to her like static, quiet, invisible, and ever-present. "I guess it's time for me to go home," she muttered, packing her laptop and notes into her tote. "Thanks for everything, Isabel. I might just ignore the message and focus on the baby." "Don't hesitate to call if anything changes," Isabel said firmly. "Or if you need me by your side tonight at the Rosemont, if you still decide to go." Her voice was calm, but the way she gripped Samantha's hand lingered, a silent plea to stay safe. Samantha shivered. The idea of actually showing up at the hotel lounge to meet a faceless stranger felt reckless, perhaps even dangerous. And yet, the part of her that needed absolute certainty couldn't let it go. She had been living in a bubble of trust, believing Ryan's word without question. But her instincts nagged that if something was truly amiss, ignoring it wouldn't make it disappear. As Samantha rode the elevator down to the street, her phone buzzed once more. The same unknown number. "Don't run. The truth is important," the text read simply. No threats, no demands, just a quiet insistence that sent a chill down her spine. She stared at it, fear and curiosity swirling in her stomach. She had to make a choice. Later that evening, Samantha found herself sitting in a private booth at the Rosemont Hotel lounge. She had told Ryan she was meeting Isabel for dinner. Technically true, though Isabel was not there. The lounge oozed sophistication, all plush velvet seats and hushed conversations. Waiters floated by with trays of high-end cocktails. Samantha tried to remain inconspicuous in a simple black maternity dress, her hair pulled back in a low bun. Her heart thumped as she glanced around the room, wondering who might be the source of those ominous texts. She checked her phone, anxiously awaiting a sign. At 8:15 p.m., a woman approached. She was petite, with raven black hair and a sleek bob, wearing a tailored navy pantsuit. The woman's face was drawn, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and determination. "Mrs. Ellis?" the woman said in a hush. "My name is Talia Brooks." Samantha's pulse quickened. "You sent those messages?" Talia nodded, sliding into the seat across from her. There was a flutter of tension in her expression. "Yes. And before you ask, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it because I can't stand the lies anymore." Samantha's throat went dry. "Why should I believe you? Lies about what?" Talia hesitated, then reached into her purse. She placed a stack of photographs on the table. Samantha didn't want to look at them, but she couldn't tear her gaze away. The first photo showed Ryan in a hotel lobby, his arm wrapped intimately around Talia's waist. A second photo captured them sharing a tender kiss outside a restaurant. Samantha recognized it. La Serena, a romantic Italian spot Ryan had once taken her to on their anniversary. Each photo hammered a nail deeper into her heart. "I met Ryan at a charity function 8 months ago," Talia explained, her voice trembling. "He told me he was separated. I only found out he was still very much married after we'd grown close." She glanced at Samantha's pregnant belly, an expression of guilt contorting her features. "I confronted him, and he swore he would end things with you. Said you were only together for business. Appearances." Samantha's mind reeled. The baby squirmed inside her, as if it sensed her turmoil. 8 months. That would place the affair around the same time she first discovered she was pregnant. All those nights he claimed to have late meetings, emergency client dinners. Had it really been this? "You're lying," Samantha managed, her voice shaky. "You could have doctored these photos. This could be revenge. I don't even know who you are." "I don't blame you for doubting me," Talia replied, swallowing hard. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached into her purse, eyes darting nervously toward the entrance. "But I have text messages, phone records, and emails. I tried breaking it off months ago, but Ryan is persistent. He's manipulative. He told me he loved me, and I was stupid enough to believe him." Her voice cracked, bitter and full of regret. "That's when I found out you were pregnant." Samantha's eyes stung with tears. Talia's next words hit like a blow. "He claimed it was an accident, said you'd both probably get an abortion." A sharp gasp escaped Samantha's lips. she felt a surge of anger, shame, heartbreak, all at once. "We lost 2 pregnancies before this one," she whispered, grief painting her words. "We wanted this baby more than anything. If he's telling you otherwise, then who is he telling the truth?" Talia's own voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. He lied to me about so many things. But you deserve the truth. I'm not proud of this affair." Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I was naive. I thought I mattered. I ended it for good last week, and he's been threatening me ever since, saying he'd ruin my career, blackball me in the industry if I told you. But I can't keep lying, to myself or to you. I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing you, clueless, still believing he was the man you married. I couldn't live with that." Samantha's tears finally fell, one after the other. She wanted to scream, to break something, to wake up from this nightmare. But all she could do was slump against the booth, her entire body trembling. The illusions she had built around her marriage crumbled with each passing second. "Why now?" she asked, in a voice so small it barely registered. "Why tell me this now, instead of letting me go on believing in my marriage?" Talia lowered her eyes. "Because it's not fair to you, or to the baby you're carrying. I also suspect he's seen another woman. Besides me, I've seen suspicious texts pop up on his phone. I don't even know her name, but I recognize his pattern, and I can't be part of this web of lies anymore. He's not just unfaithful, he's a pattern, a dangerous one." Samantha couldn't breathe. Her vision blurred. She felt the baby kick again, bringing her back to reality. She rose abruptly from the booth, tears streaking her cheeks. "I need to go," she choked out. "This is too much." Talia looked anguished, but didn't stop her from leaving. As Samantha stumbled out of the lounge, the weight of betrayal bore down on her chest, a suffocating ache that threatened to consume her. The man she thought she knew, the father of her child, was a stranger. Everything about her marriage, her life, was now in question. Outside, the Los Angeles night wrapped her in a cold embrace. A gentle drizzle coated the city streets. Each raindrop felt like a shard of ice on her skin. She wanted to call Isabel, but she couldn't form coherent words. She certainly couldn't face Ryan, not yet. Where could she go? She clutched her baby bump, protective instincts raging. Only one thought sliced through the fog. I have to protect my child from whatever darkness is in Ryan's world. After leaving the Rosemont Hotel, Samantha found herself standing outside Isabel's apartment in Westwood, drenched in rain. She barely remembered the taxi ride, let alone paying the driver. She only knew she needed her best friend's support, now more than ever. Isabel opened the door to find Samantha sobbing quietly, her face pale. Wordlessly, she ushered Samantha inside and wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Samantha told Isabel everything, the hurtful revelations tumbling from her lips. Isabel listened, eyes flashing with anger and sympathy, but she refrained from interrupting. "This is big," Isabel finally said, gently pressing a mug of hot tea into Samantha's hands. "I'm so sorry, Sam. I don't even know what to say." Samantha stared blankly at the steam swirling above her cup. "I can't even look at him. I feel lost." "Stay here tonight," Isabel insisted, guiding her toward the guest bedroom. "You can't face him in this condition. You need rest and a clear mind. Tomorrow we'll figure out the next step." Samantha nodded, too emotionally drained to argue. She sank onto the plush bed, pulling a throw pillow close. She tried to block out images of Ryan with Talia, but the mental pictures danced uninvited behind her eyelids. She felt her child move, and a fresh wave of tears came. If Ryan can lie about one mistress, who's to say how many more secrets he keeps? Despite the turmoil, exhaustion eventually carried her into a fitful sleep. She dreamed of her wedding day, the moment she'd said "I do," beneath a cascade of white roses. In the dream, Ryan's face morphed into someone unrecognizable, cold, mocking, a man with no love for her at all. Morning came too soon. Isabel's gentle knock stirred Samantha from uneasy slumber. She half expected to find it had all been a nightmare, but reality hit the second she opened her eyes. "Any messages from him?" Samantha asked, forcing herself out of bed. Isabel nodded grimly. "He's called and texted multiple times. He also tried calling me, asking where you were. Said you vanished without explanation last night." A nerve twinged in Samantha's temple. "What did you tell him?" "That I hadn't seen you. I figured it was safer to keep your location private until you decide what to do. Although, if he's as powerful as he, Seems he might find out eventually, especially if he hires a private investigator or something extreme like that. Samantha rubbed her temples. I can't hide forever, but I'm not ready to speak to him. Not yet. I have to think this through. The idea of confronting Ryan without being fully prepared terrified her. He was manipulative. Talia had warned her. If Samantha confronted him in a moment of weakness, he might twist her emotions, make promises of change, or use the unborn child as leverage. And worst of all, she feared she might still want to believe him. That was the danger. She needed proof, a plan, and a sense of resolve before dealing with him. Samantha called her family attorney, Daniel Monroe, someone she trusted implicitly. Though she hadn't spoken to Daniel in months, he was practically family, a longtime friend of her late father who had guided her through legal matters in the past. Daniel's soothing voice came through the phone. Samantha, you sound troubled. Let's meet at my office in an hour. I'll clear my schedule. With Isabel's support, Samantha hailed a ride and headed to Monroe and Pierce, a well-regarded law firm in Century City. Daniel greeted her in the sleek modern lobby, motioning her into a private conference room. He offered her a tissue as he noticed her teary eyes. This isn't the girl I remember, he said softly, offering a rare personal remark. Let's get you back on your feet. After listening to Samantha's story, Daniel leaned back in his leather chair, a grave expression on his face. I'm sorry you're going through this, he said. Based on what you've told me, we need to consider your options carefully. First, we need proof of his infidelity, especially if you're preparing for a potential divorce. The affair could significantly affect any settlement, particularly with a child on the way. Samantha placed the incriminating photos Talia had given her on the desk. Daniel scanned them, nodding slowly. This is compelling. If we had more evidence, recorded messages, financial documents that indicate he spent marital assets on his mistress, that could solidify your position. He paused, lifting one of the photos. This hotel? That's not even in California, he muttered, noting a potential jurisdiction issue. He's been flying her out. That's premeditated. But what about my baby? Samantha whispered. I don't want to deprive my child of a father, and Ryan, for all his flaws, always talked about how excited he was to be a dad. Her voice cracked on the word dad, and she quickly looked away. Daniel steepled his fingers, empathy in his eyes. That's a personal decision. Legally, you can file for divorce with or without seeking full custody. We can arrange visitation that protects you and the child. If you're worried about his influence, however, we can't proceed on speculation alone. We need to know if Ryan's behavior poses any potential harm to you or your baby. Samantha swallowed. The idea of splitting up her family felt like an amputation, painful and irreversible. But she also couldn't fathom staying in a marriage built on deceit. How do we get more proof? She asked. Daniel glanced at Isabel, then back at Samantha. You might hire a private investigator, or we can consult a forensic accountant to check for suspicious transactions. If Ryan's funneling money to a mistress or multiple mistresses, it should leave a paper trail. Tears burned at the corners of Samantha's eyes. She never imagined her life would lead here, investigating her husband's transgressions like a detective. But she also recognized a fierce maternal instinct rising within her. She had to protect herself and her unborn child, no matter the cost. Isabel squeezed Samantha's hand. We'll do whatever it takes, she said softly. Daniel slid a discreet business card across the table. This is from Morgan Hayes, a reputable private investigator. She's worked miracles for some of my other clients. If you want to go that route, I can make the introduction. Samantha took the card, her heart pounding, even if it felt surreal. Her choice was made. She would uncover the truth, no matter how deep the rot went, and she would prepare, if necessary, to leave Ryan forever. Samantha contacted Morgan Hayes the next day, trying to keep her voice steady as she explained the basics of the situation. Morgan, a former police detective, was professional and calm, assuring Samantha that affairs among the wealthy were her specialty. Discretion is key, Morgan promised. I'll be in touch if I find anything. Time seemed to slow to a crawl over the following week. Samantha ignored Ryan's calls, texts, and frantic voicemails. She felt guilty for not letting him know she was safe, but fear of his emotional manipulation kept her silent. She moved in with Isabel temporarily, feeling like a fugitive in her own life. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from Ryan. "Where are you? Why are you doing this to me? Don't hurt our baby." She recognized the irony in that last plea. He was the one who had inflicted emotional wounds. Nonetheless, her heart ached. She vividly recalled the moment they'd first discovered this pregnancy was viable, how Ryan had lifted her in his arms, tears of joy shining in his eyes. Had it all been a lie? The waiting game was agony. Each day, Morgan called with small updates. She confirmed that Ryan had spent a suspicious amount of money over the past 6 months on lavish hotel suites, expensive jewelry, and even a rented apartment in the Westwood Hills area. Morgan also unearthed phone records linking him to multiple women, including Talia Brooks, whose number popped up in his call logs almost daily. Even more disturbing was evidence of a second mistress, identified as Michelle Palmer, a young model from Los Angeles. Ryan had flown her out several times under the guise of business conferences. Morgan managed to find pictures of them together at a high-end restaurant in Malibu, looking very much like a couple. Samantha's stomach churned. Each photo was another punch to the gut, each timestamp another reminder that these weren't isolated lapses. They were habits. Patterns. A life lived in parallel to hers. She learned there wasn't just one other woman to share heartbreak with, but possibly 2, 3, or more. The cost of Ryan's double life had been funded by the same accounts they used for their home renovations and the baby's future college fund. Even the crib she'd just ordered was technically tainted by his betrayal. "What about his company?" Samantha asked Morgan during one call. "Does he involve them in this affair spree?" "It looks like he's careful to use personal funds," Morgan replied, "but I haven't yet dug through all the corporate finances." "Men like him don't just lie to wives," she added. "They lie to shareholders too." I'd keep digging. However, the pattern was clear. He was leading multiple lives. "If you pursue divorce," Morgan said, "this evidence is more than enough to demonstrate fault." Samantha tried to steel herself. The baby's gentle movements inside her offered comfort and a reminder of why she had to stay strong. "I will not allow this chaos to define our child's future." By the time Morgan concluded her investigation, Samantha had enough proof to fill a binder. Photos, financial statements, phone transcripts, and even audio recordings from conversations Morgan had managed to secure through legal channels. At night, she would open it in secret, touching the pages, reminding herself that she wasn't imagining any of it, that she hadn't overreacted. The horrifying truth was that Ryan's betrayal was sprawling, methodical, and consistent. Samantha met with Daniel again, binder in hand, her face set in grim determination. Daniel skimmed through the material, letting out a low whistle. "This is conclusive. He's not just a philanderer. He's funneling tens of thousands of dollars into maintaining these affairs. How do you want to proceed?" Her voice quivered, but her gaze was resolute. "I want a divorce." Daniel gave a sympathetic nod. "I'll file the paperwork immediately. We'll aim for favorable terms for you and the child. Support, spousal assistance, and a fair share of the marital estate. But be prepared. Men like Ryan don't surrender easily." "He may fight dirty," Daniel warned. "He'll paint himself as the victim, but we're ready." Before leaving Daniel's office, Samantha paused by the window, gazing at the bustling LA skyline below. She remembered coming into this building as a child to meet her father, who had once practiced law here before he passed away. Back then, she had believed wholeheartedly in the promise of happily ever after. Now she felt that innocence slip away, replaced by a steely resolve, shaped by heartbreak and impending motherhood. She wasn't the same woman who once toasted wedding dreams in Napa under fairy lights. That woman was gone, and this one was sharper, wiser, harder to break. Stepping out into the afternoon sun, she squared her shoulders. She had a new mission: to safeguard her baby's well-being and salvage her own dignity from the wreckage of a dream turned nightmare. And no matter how the legal battle played out, she vowed never to allow Ryan's deceit to define her sense of worth. Armed with legal counsel and the evidence from Morgan, Samantha finally agreed to meet Ryan in a neutral setting, a law firm's conference room, where Daniel could moderate. The tension was palpable from the moment. Ryan walked in. Samantha noticed he'd lost weight, dark circles haunting his eyes, but pity was a luxury she could no longer afford. He tried to approach her with open arms. "Samantha, thank God," I've been worried sick. She took a step back, ignoring the pang in her chest at the sight of him. Sit down, Ryan. We need to talk business now. Daniel cleared his throat and gestured for both of them to take seats at the long mahogany table. Ryan frowned. Why is he here? Samantha swallowed. Because I've filed for divorce. The color drained from Ryan's face. He looked at her, then at the folder in front of Daniel. Divorce? You're serious? We can work through this. You've been under so much stress with the pregnancy. Maybe that woman Talia lied to you or threatened you. Let's talk privately. Samantha's gaze flickered to Daniel, who gave a subtle nod of support. She opened the binder, revealing the damning evidence. I know everything. Talia Brooks, Michelle Palmer, the countless nights in luxury hotels, the secret Westwood Hills apartment. Don't insult me by denying it. Ryan's jaw clenched. His eyes darted to Daniel, who sat calmly, hands folded. Samantha, you have to understand, this was never about you. I love you. I always have. It's complicated. Samantha bristled. Don't you dare reduce your blatant cheating to it's complicated. You told Talia I was just a business arrangement, that my pregnancy was an accident. Her voice broke. Do you even realize how many nights I cried myself to sleep after our miscarriages? How I prayed for this baby? Ryan's composure cracked. He looked genuinely distressed, though whether it was remorse or fear of losing everything, Samantha couldn't tell. He stuttered an apology, his voice trembling. I never meant to hurt you. I was just trying to fill a void. The pressure from the company, from our social circle, it all got to me. Daniel cleared his throat. Ryan, I have the divorce papers here. Samantha is open to mediation if you cooperate on custody, child support, and a settlement that reflects her share of the marital estate. Otherwise, we'll take this to court. Ryan visibly bristled. You think I'm just going to give up half my wealth because of a few mistakes? Do you have any idea how hard I worked for everything I have? Samantha never contributed a dime to my company's founding. Samantha flinched. She remembered the early days, how she supported him emotionally and helped design his first office space, without charging a cent. She'd poured her heart into making their home a sanctuary. She'd planned networking events, used her design skills to impress potential investors, and he calls it nothing. She forced herself to remain calm. I might not have coded the software or sat in the boardrooms, but I was there, Ryan. I sacrificed my own career aspirations to help you succeed. And let's not forget, you have an unborn child who deserves financial security. Ryan pinned his gaze on the binder. You won't get away with this. My attorneys are the best in the state. I'll drag this through the courts for years, if I have to. Samantha's lip trembled, but she lifted her chin. I'm willing to do what it takes to protect my child from a man who can't even honor his marriage vows. The rage in Ryan's eyes flared, then receded as he forced a smile. Let's not be hasty. We can settle this privately. Avoid the tabloids. Think of our reputations. If you file for divorce publicly, the press will have a field day. Samantha felt a stab of guilt, recalling how carefully Ryan had cultivated his public image as a philanthropist and family man. She inhaled slowly, letting the wave of anger steady her. My priority is the health and future of our baby. You should have thought of your reputation before leading multiple double lives. Now the choice is yours. Cooperate amicably, or we go to court. Daniel stood, sliding the divorce papers across the table. Take some time to review these with your lawyer, Ryan, but do so quickly. We won't wait forever. Ryan's hands shook as he lifted the folder. For a moment, Samantha wondered if she would see regret, sorrow, or any genuine remorse behind his anger. But he only offered a quiet nod, his eyes distant, when he left the room. Samantha remained seated, staring after him. She felt a swirl of conflicting emotions, heartbreak over losing the man she once adored, fury at his betrayal, and a strange sense of relief that she was no longer trapped in his illusions. Daniel gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You did well, Samantha, he said softly. Focus on your health and the baby. Now let me handle the rest. She exhaled, a weight lifting from her chest. Though the war was far from over, she had taken the first crucial step, reclaiming her life from Ryan's lies. News of Samantha's filing for divorce swept through their social circles like wildfire. Though the official documents were sealed, whispers slipped out. Former colleagues of Ryan began to speculate about his alleged affairs, while some of Samantha's design clients discreetly asked if she was all right. Isabel fielded countless calls, offering no comment to any prying acquaintances. During this tumultuous period, Samantha leaned heavily on her friend Charlotte Remington, one of her long-standing interior design clients, who had become like an older sister. Charlotte had navigated her own messy divorce years ago, and remembered how the tabloids had dissected her personal life. She offered Samantha the use of her family's estate in Montecito as a peaceful getaway from Los Angeles's relentless buzz. With her baby due in a matter of weeks, Samantha decided a retreat to the quiet seaside town might be just what she needed. She packed her essentials, maternity clothes, prenatal vitamins, and her sketchbook. Despite the upheaval, she found solace in designing nursery ideas and brainstorming color palettes. Creating beauty, even on paper, was a reminder that life could still hold wonder and promise. The evening before Samantha planned to leave, Ryan appeared at Isabel's apartment unexpectedly. Isabel had gone out to grab dinner, leaving Samantha alone, flipping through her phone in the dimly lit living room. The doorbell's sudden ring made her heart pound. She opened the door to find Ryan standing there, looking disheveled. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair slightly unkempt, like he hadn't slept in days, but the glint in his eyes was unsettling, more desperation than remorse. A wave of conflicting emotions surged within her. This is not the place for drama, she thought, one hand protectively over her belly. "Ryan," she greeted tersely. "What are you doing here?" He stepped forward, eyes bloodshot. "I had to see you. You won't take my calls. My lawyer says you want a divorce, but we need to talk. Alone." His voice cracked, but there was an edge to it, as if her silence wounded his pride more than his heart. Samantha didn't move from the doorway. "I have nothing left to say," she replied, voice taut. "I made my position clear during our meeting." He exhaled sharply. "I'm sorry. I messed up, I know that, but I need another chance for the baby's sake. I swear I'll make this right. I'll end all the affairs, I'll cut off everyone else. I just need you to believe in me again." He took a step closer, but Samantha didn't flinch, she stiffened. Samantha's mind reeled. She felt a twinge of the old longing for the husband she thought she knew, but then memories of the incriminating photos, the phone records, and the heartbreak smoldered in her chest. "How many second chances do you think you deserve?" she asked. "You manipulated me, lied to me, to us." Ryan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Our baby doesn't need a father who can't keep his vows, and I don't need a man who begs for forgiveness only when he's cornered." Her voice was cold steel now, and for the first time she saw something flicker in his eyes. Not guilt, but insult. Frustration flashed across his face. "You're making a mistake. Raising a child on your own is going to be hard, Samantha. I want to be there for our son. Or daughter." The words stung. Samantha knew single motherhood would be challenging, but the alternative, living in a constant state of distrust and emotional turmoil, felt worse. "You'll have visitation rights," she said evenly. "But as far as I'm concerned, this marriage is over." He attempted to argue further, but the door behind Samantha suddenly opened. Isabel walked in, carrying takeout bags. Her eyes immediately narrowed at the sight of Ryan. "Is everything okay here?" Isabel asked, stepping protectively beside Samantha. Ryan's gaze flickered between them, his frustration mounting. "This has nothing to do with you. Stay out of it." Isabel raised an eyebrow. "Samantha's safety and well-being have everything to do with me. You should leave before I call the police." Snarling in defeat, Ryan cast one last forlorn look at Samantha. "Fine, but don't expect me to roll over in the divorce. If you want war, you'll get it." Her heart hammered even after he stormed away. Isabel set the food on the counter and wrapped Samantha in a reassuring hug. "Don't let him rattle you," she whispered. "You're doing the right thing." Samantha clung to her friend, tears threatening. She drew in a shaky breath, steeling herself. She would not let Ryan's intimidation deter her. She grabbed her half-packed suitcase, deciding to leave for Montecito first thing in the morning. Far from the city and Ryan's grasp, she hoped to find the peace she desperately needed. Samantha arrived at the Remington estate in Montecito, enveloped by a world so serene it felt like stepping onto another planet. A gentle breeze carried the scent of salt water and dune grass. White roses bloomed along a winding path that led up to the grand old-world mansion. Charlotte Remington was there to greet her at the door, arms open. "You poor thing," Charlotte said softly, helping Samantha carry her bags inside. "I've set up one of the guest rooms on the second floor for you. Take all the time you need." Gratitude warmed Samantha's chest. She craved this oasis of quiet. The stress of the last few weeks had taken a toll, and her pregnancy symptoms, backaches, swollen feet, and fatigue, were more prominent than ever. She knew, however, that the baby was healthy. Her doctors had confirmed it at her last visit. That's all that matters, she reminded herself. Over the next few days, Samantha settled into a gentle routine. She took morning walks along the beach, letting the rhythm of the waves soothe her racing thoughts. She prepared simple meals in the mansion's sunlit kitchen, trying to focus on nurturing herself and the life growing inside her. Every so often, she'd open her laptop and sketch out new designs, anything to keep her creativity flowing. Charlotte, who spent most weekdays in Los Angeles for business, visited on weekends. She brought comforting stories, fresh groceries, and updates from the social rumor mill. "Some folks are buzzing about your split with Ryan," she admitted one Saturday morning over coffee. "But I've done my best to shut down the gossip. You have enough on your plate without meddling tongues." Samantha mustered a grateful smile. She admired Charlotte's fiercely loyal spirit. "Thank you. I never wanted my personal life to become a spectacle. That's one reason I'm here." Charlotte reached across the table, giving Samantha's hand a reassuring squeeze. "You deserve peace. Focus on that baby and let Daniel handle the rest." Despite the estate's tranquility, ominous reminders of her reality still crept in. Daniel called regularly with updates on the divorce negotiations. Ryan's lawyers had responded with a flurry of counter-demands, pushing for minimal spousal support and partial custody. They claimed Ryan's affairs were mere indiscretions that did not impact his rights as a father or the financial settlement. "They're going to drag this out," Daniel warned on one call. "Their aim is to rattle you, possibly coerce you into settling for less. Don't give in. I'm confident we have a strong case, especially with Morgan's evidence of him siphoning funds for extramarital relationships." Samantha felt a knot form in her stomach. The last thing she wanted was a protracted legal battle, especially as her due date edged closer. But she refused to let Ryan's intimidation force her into an unfair settlement. She had sacrificed too much already. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Samantha lounged on the back porch, sipping herbal tea. She stared at the horizon, where the sky blazed in hues of orange and pink. Her baby stirred within her, a soft nudge that made her heart swell. In that moment, she whispered to her child, "I promise to give you a life filled with love, honesty, and security. I won't let him hurt us again." Shortly after, she felt a faint cramp in her abdomen. Startled, she took a deep breath. The pregnancy books had mentioned Braxton Hicks contractions. Practice contractions that could occur in the later stages of pregnancy. She prayed it was just that. But the cramp returned, stronger this time. Samantha's heartbeat quickened. Charlotte was away in the city. She considered calling an ambulance if things got worse. She focused on measured breathing and recalled her prenatal classes. After 15 minutes, the pain subsided. Relieved, she decided to lie down. As she rested, her phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "I know where you are. We need to talk." Her chest tightened. It had to be the private investigator he'd hired, or perhaps he'd simply threatened someone else into revealing her location. The message was short. No greeting, no apology, just cold certainty. Anxiety flared. She realized her sanctuary might not remain hidden for long. Clutching her belly, she forced herself to remain calm. She was done running. If Ryan wanted a confrontation, she'd face him, but on her terms. But a new fear nestled in her chest. What if he didn't come to talk? What if he came to control? To take? Early the next morning, Samantha's eyes snapped open to a sharp pain radiating across her abdomen. This time, it was unmistakable. A contraction. She glanced at the bedside clock. 4:35 a.m. Another wave of pain hit, and her breath came in short gasps. Panic coiled in her gut. Her due date was still 3 weeks away, but babies had their own schedules. Wincing, she reached for her phone on the nightstand and dialed Charlotte's number. No answer. She left a shaky voicemail. "Charlotte, I'm having contractions. I might need to head to the hospital. Please call me as soon as you get this." She tried Isabel next. Her friend picked up, groggy, on the second ring. "Samantha, what's happening?" In halting breaths, Samantha explained her contractions. "I think I need to go to the hospital," she managed. "I'm scared, Isabel." "I'll be there." "Which hospital?" Isabel asked, now fully alert. "South Shore Community Hospital." "It's the closest," Samantha replied. Isabel promised to head there immediately from Los Angeles. Samantha gathered the hospital bag she'd prepared weeks in advance. She was grateful now that she had planned ahead. Pausing in the entryway of the estate, she fought through another contraction. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She realized she shouldn't drive in this condition. "Ambulance," she thought, fumbling for her phone. She dialed 911. Within minutes, an ambulance pulled into the long driveway. The paramedics were calm and efficient, helping her onto a stretcher. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, Samantha gritted her teeth, forcing herself to focus on breathing. Stay calm, for the baby. But her mind still flashed back to the message, "I know where you are." Not even labor could drown out that echo. Upon arrival at the maternity ward, she was whisked into a labor room. Nurses checked her vitals and the baby's heartbeat. The steady thump-thump of her child's heart comforted her. The obstetrician, Dr. Lindsay Moore, arrived shortly after, her reassuring demeanor putting Samantha at ease. "You're in early labor, Samantha," Dr. Moore said gently. "The baby's heart rate looks good. We'll monitor you and see how you progress." Samantha tried to relax, but each contraction felt like a wave of agony that stole her breath. She found some relief by following the breathing exercises she'd learned in prenatal classes. She prayed for Isabel to arrive soon, longing for a familiar face to help anchor her. About an hour later, Isabel burst into the room, hair disheveled, eyes brimming with concern. She rushed to Samantha's side, clasping her hand. "I'm here. You're not alone." Gratitude welled in Samantha's chest. Her tears flowed freely, mixing with sweat from the ongoing contractions. Thank you," she gasped. Time blurred into a cycle of pain and anticipation. By noon, Samantha was in active labor, and the contractions intensified. Isabel offered words of encouragement, dabbing Samantha's forehead with a cool cloth. Dr. Moore checked her progress. "You're getting close. Just hang in there." Suddenly, the door flew open. Samantha's heart lurched when she saw Ryan stride in, flanked by a nurse protesting his intrusion. His face was etched with worry. "Samantha," he said breathlessly. "I rushed over as soon as I heard." Isabel tensed, stepping forward to block him. "She doesn't want you here." Samantha, mid-contraction, let out a sob of pain. Through the haze, she saw Ryan's stricken expression. Half of her wanted him gone. The other half felt a pang of sorrow. He was the baby's father, after all. Between ragged breaths, she managed, "Isabel, it's okay. Let him stay, but keep him over there." Reluctantly, Isabel relented. Ryan stood at the far side of the room, hands trembling. As Dr. Moore and the nurses prepared for the final phase of labor, Samantha could barely register his presence. Through tears and crushing contractions, all that mattered was bringing this child safely into the world. She pushed with all her remaining strength, screams tearing from her throat. The world narrowed to a singular focal point, her baby. She was vaguely aware of the nurse telling her to breathe, to keep going. Isabel squeezed her hand, whispering, "You can do this." At last, a piercing cry filled the room. Samantha collapsed back against the pillows, her entire body shaking. A tiny, wailing infant was placed on her chest, a baby boy, wriggling and pink. Raw emotions surged. Through her relief, love, and awe, she stroked the baby's cheek, tears of joy mingling with the exhaustion. Ryan took a tentative step closer, eyes locked on the infant. He looked at Samantha, tears slipping down his face, but Samantha closed her eyes, turning away from him. In that moment, she only had eyes for the precious life in her arms, the child that would forever be her priority. Samantha named her newborn son Noah, symbolic of a fresh start. After the flood of turmoil that had consumed her life, he was tiny, fragile, and utterly perfect. For 2 days, she stayed in the hospital, recovering from the physical toll of childbirth. Isabel remained a steadfast presence, helping with diaper changes and feedings, offering emotional support whenever Samantha felt overwhelmed. Ryan tried to visit multiple times, bringing flowers, stuffed animals, and tearful apologies. But Samantha refused to see him. She needed space to bond with Noah, without the weight of his father's betrayal clouding every moment. Besides, the court hearing for their divorce loomed in the near future, and she wanted no confusion about where she stood. On the third day, Samantha was discharged. Isabel drove her and Noah back to the Remington estate. Charlotte had organized a small welcome home surprise, balloons and a crib set up in the guest room. Samantha was touched by their kindness, reminded that, even in the darkest times, some people genuinely cared. She settled into a new routine of sleepless nights and constant feedings. Though physically drained, her spirit felt unexpectedly light. Every time Noah cooed or opened his eyes to peer at her, she experienced a profound sense of purpose. All the heartbreak, legal battles, and uncertainty seemed secondary to this tiny miracle in her arms. 2 weeks later, Daniel called with an update. "We have the preliminary hearing scheduled next month," he said. Ryan's lawyers are pushing for joint custody, claiming he wants to be present in the child's life. However, we have strong evidence of his affairs and questionable financial dealings, which could weigh in our favor. Samantha sighed, cradling Noah against her shoulder. "I don't want to keep him from his child entirely, but I can't trust him to be a responsible father. He's proven how reckless and deceitful he can be." "I understand," Daniel replied. "We'll aim for a custody arrangement that prioritizes Noah's well-being and your comfort. If Ryan is genuine about changing, he can demonstrate that through responsible behavior over time." After hanging up, Samantha stared at her sleeping son. She couldn't deny that at some point, Noah might want to know his father. She didn't want to deprive him of that relationship. If Ryan could genuinely reform, but forgiveness felt like an impossible bridge to cross anytime soon. The weeks rolled on, and Samantha regained her strength, step by cautious step. She started taking short walks along the beach, with Noah tucked in a baby sling, the ocean breeze soothing them both. Sometimes she'd reflect on the life she had envisioned: a happy marriage, a stable home, parents united by love for their child. She grieved that lost dream. Yet, she also felt proud for choosing a healthier path, forging ahead on her own terms. Ryan's messages became less frequent, perhaps on advice from his legal team. Sometimes Samantha found it strangely sad. She wondered if a part of him truly regretted everything, or if his attempts to reconcile were merely about preserving his public image. Other times she feared his silence was strategic, quiet before a legal storm. Regardless, she remained resolute. It was too late for them to be a family under one roof. Their marriage was beyond repair. In due time, the day of the preliminary hearing arrived. Samantha dressed conservatively, a simple black dress that she wore more to appear serious in court than fashionable. Isabel agreed to babysit Noah, staying back at the Remington estate. With Daniel by her side, Samantha walked into the courthouse, her heart pounding, but her resolve unwavering. Ryan was already there, flanked by 2 high-profile attorneys. He wore a crisp suit and a rehearsed expression, cool, calculated, like nothing was ever broken. She avoided meeting his gaze, instead focusing on Daniel's calm voice, prepping her for the questions ahead. The hearing was intense, each side presenting their arguments about custody and support. Ryan's lawyers tried to paint Samantha as emotionally unstable from postpartum stress, but Daniel swiftly countered with evidence of Ryan's extramarital activities, financial manipulations, and the emotional duress she had endured. Then came the twist. Ryan's team introduced a fabricated email, supposedly written by Samantha, expressing regret and blaming hormones for her reaction. Her hands shook as she stared at the printout. Daniel was quick to object, presenting expert analysis proving the metadata had been altered. The judge allowed the hearing to continue, but issued a warning: any future false submissions would result in sanctions. Samantha inhaled shakily, the reality sinking in. Ryan wouldn't fight fair. Midway through, the judge intervened, suggesting that, for the sake of the child, a temporary arrangement be established while divorce proceedings continued. Samantha found herself agreeing to limited, supervised visits for Ryan. Part of her believed Noah had the right to meet his father in a safe environment. But the conditions were strict: no overnights, no unsupervised access, and weekly reporting to the court. Leaving the courtroom, Samantha felt as though she had run a marathon. Ryan attempted to approach her one last time, but Daniel blocked him. Samantha gave him a pointed look. "If you really want to be a father, prove it by respecting boundaries and being honest." Something in Ryan's eyes flickered, remorse or maybe defeat. But just before he turned, she caught a glimpse of something else too. Resentment. A storm quietly brewing. He turned away without a word. Weeks merged into months. Samantha dove into motherhood with all her heart. Though exhaustion was a constant companion, she also resumed work as an interior designer on a flexible schedule, seeking to regain her independence, slowly. She discovered an unexpected strength. She could be both a loving mother and a determined career woman, on her own. On a breezy fall afternoon, the final divorce papers were signed. Daniel handed her the official decree, offering a gentle smile. "You're free, Samantha. Your settlement is fair and will help support you and Noah. You've done it." Samantha clutched the documents, tears clouding her vision. Not just tears of grief, but of release, of knowing she had faced every fear and made it through. She felt grief for what could have been, but also an overwhelming relief and a deep sense of liberation. Holding Noah close, she stood on the threshold of the courthouse, the autumn leaves swirling in the wind. Her child cooed, and she kissed his forehead. They had survived the storm. "We will build a beautiful life together, just the two of us," Samantha whispered, a silent promise, "and I will never again settle for a love that isn't true." A single spark of deception can burn a marriage to the ground, but Samantha's journey proves that beyond the ashes, a stronger self can rise. She hadn't just walked away. She'd rebuilt herself from the rubble. Piece by resilient piece, she stepped away from Ryan's tangled web of betrayal and charted a new path, one that put her and baby Noah's well-being first. Even when faced with legal battles, societal gossip, and emotional turmoil, she found unexpected strength in friendship, motherhood, and her own resilience. She turned scars into armor and heartbreak into clarity. Nothing about divorce and single parenthood is easy, yet every hard-earned victory molded Samantha into a force of unstoppable determination. Now, with fresh hope and renewed purpose, Samantha stands as a testament that love, especially the love a mother has for her child, can triumph over any darkness. Her story doesn't end with survival, it begins with reinvention. Dear friend, if Samantha's journey stirred something in you, know this. The strength she found wasn't extraordinary, it was already within her, waiting to be claimed. Life often strips us bare, and like the Stoics believed, it's in those stripped-down moments that we discover what truly matters. We can't control what others do to us, but we can choose how we respond. Samantha didn't just survive betrayal, she transformed it into the foundation of a new, braver life. Her story is proof that rock bottom can be the bedrock for rebirth. You are stronger than the storm you're facing. If this story moved you, please give it a like, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful, real-life journeys like this one. Your support means everything.